everyone. What's going on? Anthony Broom here of thewolverine.com, joined right now by Clayton Safey, also of thewolverine.com. We'll basically just hop right into it here. This is going to be a pretty laid-back, loosey-goosey type of vibe that we have going on here today. We're going to take your questions live probably over the next, honestly, however long as you decide you want us here. Could be a half hour, could be an hour. Clayton will be out by 7:30. He has a prior engagement. Chris Balas will join us eventually. But really what we want to do is, it's been a big week for us on the site. We announced and we officially made the move over to the On3 network, which has been so awesome so far. I mean, I have nothing but praise and good things to say about how that's gone. It's, we've had to be pretty tight-lipped about that. And it was, I've personally, my story, I've known about this for a bit. I started writing on it, the other platform, and it was just like, let's just get there. But we're here. We're happy to be here. We'll answer your Michigan football questions, basketball questions, any questions you have about, the move, how we can get you guys on board. There are literally thousands of people who have come on.
And many thousands, yeah.
Thousands. People are saying many thousands, but
yeah.
I won't talk so much here while Clayton's here. Clayton, welcome. Good to chat with you again. I know we'll do our podcast, I assume, sometime on Thursday, but
yeah,
good to have you here.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Welcome to the viewers. I don't see any numbers out there to see how many people are watching, but appreciate you. Many thousands are watching right now as well. Yeah, so $1 gets you an entire year at on3.com, in thewolverine.com. All of our content is already over there. All of our content will be there. We're doing the same amount of content, plus we're adding more because we're on 3 and we have a ton of support. So we're excited for that. Nothing's going to change other than we're going to have more content for everybody over there. So super excited. $1 gets you that year.
Yeah, I mean, guys, there's literally like nothing. And again, I'm not going to do the whole telethon thing here where, I'll shoot some kind of gross milkshake with hot sauce and in a blender and all that type of stuff.
I'd like to see it, but
I don't know if legal would be happy about that. I think Chris Balas is here. Let's get Chris in on this. Hi, Chris. We're live.
How we doing, man?
We're live, so don't say anything crazy.
Oh, God.
We don't want to get canceled right off the bat. We were just kind of telling everyone about the switch to On3 and how awesome it's been so far. Being that you are and I say this out of respect and love, like seeing that you're the elder statesman of the three of us here. Talk to us about the move and everything that went through it. I mean, what you can say and why we're excited to be here.
Well, it's been unbelievable, right? I mean, the thousands of people that came over on the first day, the traffic was off the chains, man. So, and you know what? We got the best young staff out there, guys. It's amazing the hires that we've made, and we got literally the best staff we've ever had. We still got John Borton around. By the way, he's more elder than me, just to be clear. So, we had the two Dougs on, Doug Skeen and Doug Karst today on a podcast. So, but the community is the same. It was amazing to me, guys. The first day we got there and everybody flocked over and it was like nothing had changed except the technology was better and the interaction was great. So hopefully more people will follow us over. The $1 special has been great. So I wish we had better things to talk about than a loss to Michigan State, but you know what? It is what it is, guys. We were hoping to go in with a bang, but it didn't prevent people from coming over, guys. It's been fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Still got the number 7 team in the country that is still going to have a chance to accomplish some great goals. And basketball starting on Friday too, with exhibition, and the next week Wednesday with regular season. So there's still a ton to talk about, and the people are excited, man. I mean, they're still thinking that this football team can bounce back and do some things as well.
If it wasn't Michigan State, guys, if they'd lost to Michigan State, for example, on the road, then I think people would be like, well, hey, look, all of our goals are still in front of us, so on and so forth. That's a tough one to stomach because Michigan was probably the better team. They didn't get the breaks. They didn't make the breaks. They were out-coached in some ways, a learning experience for Mike McDonald, right, with tempo. And he did say, in talking to Doug Karsh today, he said, we've learned from it. We learned from the Nebraska game. We're going to learn it's not going to happen again, which is great. There's people are going to say, well, you're learning on the job, and that's disappointing. But you know what? It is what it is. I think the upside with this guy is fantastic. So in my opinion, there are better things to come. This is a good team that's just found another weapon in Andrell Anthony. And we saw what Cade McNamara can do when he's on and he's sharp. And hopefully that continues, guys. I really want to go into that last game with one loss if you're a Michigan fan and see what happens. Have everything right there on the table. I think that would be unbelievable. And I think it's possible.
What is the sense? I mean, Chris, you're a little more in the know in terms of what's going on inside the building. I mean, there's always the danger of a hangover game when that happens. So what have you heard about the mood in there so far?
Yeah, been great. And as Karsh again said today, and he's usually right, I hate to admit it, he's a good friend and I like to give him crap, but he said, you don't really know, right, until you get there. And Indiana has played Michigan tough. I understand they're 0-5. They've got some players. But what is it about the Hoosiers, man, that they always seem to be, whether it's a double overtime game or ugly 21-10 game or something like that, they always seem to be right there. But you don't really know until you get out there. And a Saturday night game, it's going to be 45 degrees. Clayton's going to be in his long underwear with his hot chocolate up there in the press box.
That's right.
Yeah,
no, it'll be about 70 degrees for us. But
yeah, well, that's true.
In spirit, I'm out there with the people, though.
I know you are. We all are, man. It's been a long time. I kind of forgot what it was like. I'll be honest. A couple of years ago, I brought my young son. It was several years ago now, I guess. It's crazy when my son was younger. And for that double overtime game at Indiana, I sat out there with him in the stands for the last couple overtime periods just to feel it again. And it is a different feeling, and it's great. When you're behind glass, with some of our colleagues used to pound on the glass, back in the day. I think they made that rule for him. No cheering in the press box. They don't say no booing. But that's a technicality. But it's fun up there, and the atmosphere has been great having people back at Michigan Stadium. So I think you know what, I feel good about it. I do. I think that as long as they're healthy, and I think they are, I think Cade's going to be good to go. But we heard from Jay Harbaugh today and others that said they came back and they were ready to go. And it's not just coach speak, because people we've talked to in the building have said the same thing, that these guys understand that this one loss did not ruin their season. Now, another one might be tough to rebound from. So take care of business and then go into Penn State and see what happens.
Yeah, let's take a couple of the comments here on YouTube. This one's from Lewis Papp. He says, On3 is cool. Can't beat the price. I threw the link to sign up for the site in the description below. So if you're here watching live after the fact, if you, I think this will wind up in our podcast feed. I'll also make sure it's in the description there. So yeah, $1 for a year. There's literally nothing on this planet you can get at that price. Like, it's
not anymore. No,
not anymore.
What are you trying to say? Don't say it, Clayton.
I mean, gas is just crazy.
Yeah, well, you couldn't get gas for $1 for the year before that, Clayton.
I was, you can get a little drop. Yeah.
This is from TRD BRD. He says, I have a silly question. Is Alan Bowman going to play quarterback at all? And I mean, I'll take the lead on this one. If Alan Bowman's playing quarterback this year, Michigan's either winning by a lot or losing by a lot. So,
or two guys got hurt.
What's that?
Or two guys got hurt.
Maybe three.
Or maybe three.
Now it's out there in the ether in the universe. So now we hope that doesn't.
Exactly.
No, but I think let's go back to like the Bowman stuff from earlier in the offseason. I remember people going, oh, there's Jim Harbaugh and his transfer quarterback. He's going to start and all this. I always thought that was a little overblown. Like, they had two guys transfer out. You had to bring an arm in somewhere.
Right.
And like I said, I think it kind of shook it out the way we hoped it would. But Cade's your number one. JJ was your number two. Him and Dan Villari were kind of 3A and 3B. Like I said, if you see him this year, it's because things are going very well or very poorly.
Yeah.
Well, he threw the one interception, like the first interception of the season. Yeah, him and Dave Villari are just the two podcasters on the team. They have their podcast together, so they're kind of more closer to us than they are on the field. But no, I mean, it's good to have some depth there. I think it was a good pickup.
Yep, and S.A. Bills at the old site owes me a steak dinner. Maybe that's why he hasn't come over yet, and I haven't seen him yet. Because we did have a bet that it was going to be Bowman. I wasn't going to be Bowman. I said it's going to be Cade McNamara or JJ. Probably both. It has been. And S.A. Bills said if it was like by October or something, I think the Northwestern game, that he wasn't starting, that Bowman wasn't starting, he would meet me at the Chop House and buy me a steak. So I've been waiting there every night at about 7. Haven't seen him yet. Of course, I don't know what he looks like. But S.A. Bills, we haven't forgotten.
Put the message out there.
There it is.
Someone's going to come to collect. Hopefully it doesn't come down to lead pipes or brass knuckles or anything like that.
I've got family. I got friends.
Ross Hickson, he's got a comment here. Coach Mack has big upside as long as he legit learns from this and it doesn't happen again. They need to always practice against no huddle and hurry up offense, in my opinion, because that kills everybody.
I think
that's kind of that's where the college game's going. It's fast, it's up tempo, it's basically basketball on grass. I think they will learn from it. I think, they can't happen again, but I don't foresee that being a huge issue moving forward.
No, I think they saw something on film, though, because it's been one of those things all year where they've been rushing guys in and out, and you can't do that. And Harbaugh said that. At the same time, it's up to the head coach, right, to call a timeout if something's going wrong. There was one of the two plays, 4 guys were running onto the field and weren't anywhere near the play when the play started. And you're basically gifting them 7 points. And you've got timeouts. Timeouts aren't valuable. Timeouts aren't worth 7 points. So call a timeout, make your play, get set. So even if in those situations you hold the Spartans to 3 points one of those times, guess what? It's a different ball game. So it needs to be better. But the thing is that this guy's very smart. I think he will learn from it. What we saw from Nebraska, we haven't seen again some of the issues that they had there, but they need to be better. There's no question about it. And it's unfortunate that they picked that time, this game, to play their worst game of the year. And you can't do that against rivals. We've seen that, unfortunately, against Ohio State too often. We've seen the worst game last year was Michigan State, a game they never should have lost. That cannot happen against rivals. It's time for these guys to start bringing their best games against the rivals.
Yeah, it was baffling that the substitutions. I mean, it was described to me. I was talking to a PFF analyst the other day as elementary. That you don't sub when the other team doesn't sub. You don't get time to. They're rushing to the line after a big play, which is, as Anthony, you said, common now in college football. Michigan does it, although they just run the same dive up the middle every time, and it seems to not be as successful. But it was baffling to me because Mike Macdonald is such a smart guy. Right. And I think does have a bright future. And I still love the hire. The people, there were a couple people, and there's always going to be people on the message board saying he's got to go now or whatever. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I saw a couple posts and I said it was ridiculous because, he's completely overhauled this defense. When we talked about this defense in January, when he came in, we said, man, he doesn't have a ton to work with, but we'll see how he does. Now it looks like a much more talented defense than it was. And you have to give him a ton of credit for, getting these guys up to speed. Ton of names that have come out of nowhere this season.
Yeah. And I think, the key now is to eliminate some of those big plays again, right? Because here we go. And that was the knock on Don Brown. And there's been 1 or 2 every game, guys, and not every game, but in a handful of games where, okay, somebody's uncovered or somebody blows an assignment. You can't have that. And the better defenses in the country don't give those plays up. The uncovered, and I understand there was a penalty in the Nebraska game. It should have been called, but the uncovered receiver, and we asked them about that. Was that the direct result of, hey, you didn't think you had to cover that receiver? And they admitted no. So somebody still blew an assignment. Some of the wheel routes that we've seen. And then, of course, the big 4th down play, everybody was in position except for one guy on the first 4th down play against Michigan State. And, and give Michigan State credit. They let it all hang out, man. They understood that they had to take some chances probably to win this game, and they did. That 4th and 4 was a low percentage play, but they hit on it. And that was what changed the game. That's what got them into the game. Frankly, probably prevented them from getting blown out, guys, which is a crazy thing to say. I think there were 4 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter, and that play changes the whole game.
Mm-hmm. Hell of a throw.
Yeah. Yep. And hell of a play. Give him credit.
A great call and a great play. And that's sometimes you have to live dangerous and reap the rewards of it. And I think a lot of these, I went back and charted it when I did the podcast with Ryan Van Bergen. A lot of these games that they've lost, namely the rivalry games, but even you go back to Iowa 2016, like, for example, I have that pulled up here. Michigan led 10-8 at Iowa that year. It was punt, field goal, interception, punt. That's winning time. You can't do that. Ohio State 2016, same deal. Interception, punt. 30 yards of total offense in the 4th quarter. You at some point you have to be aggressive and go for the kill shot. I think that's, for as much as the stuff that went on Saturday, I feel like that's kind of the difference in the game is one team was aggressive and made plays when it had to, and the other was just content to kind of see if they could run out of time with a lead still on the board. So.
Yeah. And one thing I'd say about that is that, what made it a great call is that it worked. Because if it's 4th and 4 and you don't get it, and then everybody's saying, why in the hell would you throw such a low percentage pass over their best player, Daxton Hill, and who was, I think, was covering Reed at the time, if I'm not mistaken. There's been some people saying, no, he wasn't. I think he was lined up on him initially, and I think the safety help came over late. But regardless, it was a great call because it worked. But guess what? It's been working a lot for Michigan State. If you go back to, remember the fake punt against Notre Dame that they had on 4th down, was it overtime or at the end of the game? And you know what? But it's a nothing to lose proposition.
Sure.
Again, they were outgained 550 yards to 300 and something. They lost the 3rd down battle. They lost the special teams battle for the most part, the hidden yardage. So you're looking at these stats and thinking, how did they win? Well, it was those plays and some Michigan mistakes, unforced. And I likened it to the Michigan Notre Dame game at the night game, and how Notre Dame fans must have felt when Tommy Rees fumbled when they were getting ready to go in to win. And, they're thinking, how in the hell did we lose this game? And, but that's where you are. So the good news is, like you said, they're still number 7 in the country, and they've got an opportunity. One of those 3 Big Ten teams is very likely going to be in the playoff, right, at this point, and they all still have to play each other. Michigan State plays at Purdue, a team that can throw the ball. And another thing that Karsh said, smart guy Karsh, is that Michigan State's got to play 4 outstanding passing. I think the top 4 passing offenses in the Big Ten in their last 4 games. And as we saw, that's not their forte, guys. Cade McNamara carved them up.
Yeah, someone fits those runs a little bit better against Kenneth Walker. That might be trouble time for them. But let's move on to a different question here now. This is from David for Work. He says, how do we think JJ rebounds from those 2 tough fumbles? Seems to be the type of guy who is going to take that as huge motivation and not sulk.
He was in the locker room after the game in tears. And he said, I cost us the game. He kept saying it over and over again. I cost us the game, according to people who were there. Nobody knew what to say to him. That shows how much he cares. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to sulk. It means that shows how much he cares. And I don't know that it was his fault. There were mixed emotions about that. Maybe it was Blake Corum should have had the ball. I think Jim Harbaugh kind of insinuated that it was him. At the same time, if Cade McNamara could have been in the game, he should have been in the game. People are saying he was in the tent. He was not. He went to the tent after that play, but it's clear that he was banged up, and that guy gave everything he had, and both of those guys were really sullen in the locker room after the game. But McNamara, I don't think there's any question. This guy is an unbelievable leader. From everybody that we've spoken with, parents of other freshmen have said that this guy is unbelievable. He's the real deal. Love what he brings to the table. He will get better from it, but and I said it all week in the week leading up to the game. Remember Drew Henson down there in '99 got in there as a sophomore, and the moment was too big for him. It happens. So you learn from it, you move on. He's going to be just fine.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily blame JJ for that. I think watching that play over, Jim's right. It was on Blake Corum, but I chalk it up to Cade McNamara looked like he was available on the sideline. You didn't put him in. And even if it wasn't JJ's fault, just having a different quarterback in there in such a key moment could have caused a miscommunication, could have been, he hands it off a little bit differently. These are the little things you don't think of when you say, oh, let's get the guy who can run a little bit better in there to add a different element. Well, sometimes the guy who doesn't run as well or add that extra element to the offense, but is a little more steady, and the guys are used to him being out there, even if it's something with, how he shoves some guys in the right spot when they line up, things like that. The Cade McNamara does, shifting the protections is so big. That key of a moment. I joked in the press box to John Borton during the game. I said, they get the ball back, and it was after JJ had just fumbled that first one. And I said, all right, we'll see what JJ has here. I was kidding. Obviously, Cade was going to come back in, but then it ends up being JJ, and I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Way to go, buddy.
Right, exactly.
Really listen. Somebody heard you.
Yeah, I know.
Right next to you. Yeah.
So, but so those are the things, and I'm sure a kid like that's going to blame himself. Remember EJ telling us about all these training sessions? I think he saw him like 37 times when he was a recruit, and he said that when JJ would miss a throw or something, he'd be down on the ground doing push-ups because he's that accountable to himself. So obviously he's going to take that hard. Andrell Anthony said on Monday that him and the rest of his good friends, have been picking him up ever since. So I expect him to bounce back. And Jim said we're going to keep seeing him in there. So he'll get an opportunity to prove himself this week.
And I see Anthony's dog back there has joined us. Does he have a question?
Yeah. Would you like to ask a question? Is there anything you got for us? Does she just maybe a treat would be
okay?
Well, before we take another question here, I will remind people, you see it on the little ticker below. Wolverine is running a site move special on the On3 network right now. You can get 1 year of content for $1. We're trying to make those signups go up, up, up. Thousands of people have already jumped on. We'd be excited to have you. The conversations that we're having among us right now are what happen on the fort every day. A lot of fun and, fun off-topic stuff too. It's like an awesome community. So if you'd like to sign up for that, $1 for a year. You cannot beat it. Link to that is in the description below. While we're on the topic of offense, this is from Becky and Chad, who just say Michigan needs to figure out how to get touchdowns in the red zone.
No question. It's literally no question.
Yeah.
They have to. And, good offensive minds find ways to get in the end zone. You don't need to resort to trickery. You just need to find plays that work and find sequences that work. And that's not been the forte, let's be honest, of Josh Gaddis here. And it needs to be better because you don't have that. You don't have that receiver, the Braylon Edwards. You don't have the Marquise Walker. You don't have guys like that you can throw the fade to. I hate the fade when you're throwing it to Mike Sainristil, for example, even Cornelius Johnson, guys that just don't have it. Nico Collins, I never thought that they used that enough when he was healthy, to be honest with you, because that's a play you can run on first and second down, and say, okay, here's my 6. And when you got a guy that can high point the ball now, Andrell Anthony, maybe he's that guy, right? The way he plucked the ball out of the air from J.J. McCarthy against Michigan State, maybe that's an added weapon. But there are things that you need to do to scheme it, not the end arounds, not all the trickery. And part of it too, guys, is that they're getting beat at the point of attack too much down there. And there's one lineman or another, whether it's Andrew Vistardis or Andrew Stuber, somebody cutting across the space. These guys need to be at their best. And the concentration needs to be at its best when it's down there, and it hasn't been, and that's been a huge problem.
I think Gaddis has gotten a little conservative down there, and even Zach Zinter said that on Tuesday night that some of the problems that they've identified now watching film, which should have been identified, again, they're 84th in the country in touchdown percentage in the red zone, is that there's too many numbers at the line of scrimmage for them, and that they're trying to adjust, and maybe they need to throw at times. And I thought, man, that's just, he has such good analysis of that. And that's obviously what they're talking about now, but it should have been fixed before. And you see them, I get that you have to call some different plays down there because it's a condensed area, but it just feels like they get into that area and then the play calling just kind of changes. You mentioned like getting too cute with it, or, throwing a fade to Sainristil to try to, I don't know if you're trying to catch him off guard there. Even if he's in one-on-one coverage, he's not necessarily the guy. So they got to figure something out. And I think it's again, top of the list. It's harder to fix than the stop substituting when the other team doesn't sub, but it's something that they need to clean up. And I think somebody asked Jim on Monday, is that near the top of the pecking order in terms of what you need to clean up? And I think he said yes. So, and it has to be.
Yeah. If he didn't say yes, he should have, Anthony.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever feel like, and like this is the blessing and the curse of this situation, do you feel like having a kicker that is as automatic as Jake Moody is ever goes into the decision making, like, we could maybe take a shot here or get a couple more yards and we know our guy's going to come through and make the kick and we're going to get our points out of it?
Fair question. And I was going to just say how good he's been. And
outstanding.
And I don't think it's a curse because they're going to need him, and whether it's Penn State or, God willing, Ohio State, we'll see how close that one is, but to make some key kicks, but you can't rely on field goals. I remember back in the 13-9 Michigan-Ohio State game in 2002, when Jason Avant said, you guys were probably in diapers or something, but Jason Avant said, field goals don't win games, and especially those types of games, right? Now, they still should have won this game. We can talk until we're blue in the face about the offense and what they didn't accomplish, and they should have been better. At the same time, the defense is really what let them down. You scored 33 points in this game, and that's good enough to win. If you look at the points that Michigan State put up against Indiana, for example, I mean, Michigan was supposed to have a good defensive football team, and they really let them down and gifted them 14 points. At the same time, yes, it does need to be better. And Jake Moody, man, I want him, if they're kicking field goals, I want them to be along the 40-yarders, right? Because if you get down there in the red zone, you're absolutely right, Anthony, that can't be a crutch. You've got to take your shots, and you've got to be a little bit more creative. You don't need 2nd and 8 every time, just like you don't need to go for the home run on first down every time. So there's a balance and there's a sequence, and the good coaches figure that out.
Yeah, I think something that is also a bit of a concern to me, we just talked about it, obviously aggression in the play calling when you get down there. And also, like, I think you sort of hit on this. Like, they just don't have the wide out that's your throw it up and go get it type of guy. Like, that helps down there too. And that's not to say they don't have guys with size. I mean, Cornelius Johnson, I think, is 6'2" or 6'3". Dalen Baldwin's a taller guy. I think Roman Wilson is 6 foot, 6'1", something like that. There are times where I question the aggression of the play calling and also the wide receiver development period. I mean, we're 8 weeks in, and a true freshman wide receiver looks like he might be your most talented guy there, and it took him 8 weeks to play. So, and those are ultimately things. I mean, it's not picking on a guy. Those are ultimately two duties and responsibilities that their offensive coordinator has. So I just think what happens there just needs to be better. And like, this is year 3 for him now. So at some point there has to be, it just has to get better, period.
Yeah. And I think Andrel Anthony is the most talented guy out there based on what I've seen in one game. He ran the best routes. He high pointed the ball. He didn't drop a ball. All things that, you know what, we've seen all these other receivers do.
When he got out of bounds on that one, when he dove for out of bounds, I mean, unbelievable. When have we seen that? I think there was, who didn't get out of it? Roman Wilson didn't get out.
Right.
It was a little tougher, but like little things like that, he's the best at.
Yeah. And you know what I keep thinking of right now is how good would it have been if you had Ronnie Bell on one side and Andrel Anthony on the other side. And now the way Eric All's catching the ball, you got that tight end over the middle. You're going to get those seam routes opened up because people have to concentrate on a great pair of receivers. That has not been the case with some of these other guys. Cornelius Johnson is maybe a nice complimentary guy or a third receiver. He'd probably be mad at me for saying that. But in my opinion, based on the great receiver play that Michigan's had over the years, and it's been a while, guys, if we're being honest, you can go to point at Devin Funchess, who never really lived up to his potential here, did in the pros a little bit. But when, Steve Preston was a number 3 receiver here, guys, and he was outstanding, he would probably be the number 1 guy on this team. So, but Andrel Anthony coming on is a huge development going forward for this offense. And if Cade McNamara continues to throw the ball and put the ball on the money, that's another thing that people have overlooked. The ball placement in this game was so much better. I mean, it was there. And if he can continue to do that, then they're going to be able to stay in some games with their offense.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And at wide receiver too, like, just in general, like, they've got Anthony, who looks terrific, and a good name, by the way. But you've got guys who are pretty, these former track guys, and Roman Wilson and AJ Henning and Lord willing, Ronnie Bell, maybe he comes back. Like, there are pieces, like, not this year, but there are pieces there where, for as much as people brag on this as being a, one of those old school smash mouth type of offenses, like, I think they have the pieces to be explosive there if they can use some of those guys and maybe rip it a little more down the field with, if Cade McNamara plays like that down the stretch here, like, Michigan's going to be in a really good spot. So I think that's a big key too. So
let me say one thing, Anthony, for all the people talking about the red zone, though, they should have had, if with better execution, they would have been in the 40s. The Blake Corum drop, right, was a beautifully executed play, and you could tell it was scouted on film. They took their shot, and the kid drops it, right? Otherwise, he's got one man to beat, and he probably scores. So just little missed blocks, for example, on a Hassan Haskins run near the red zone, that if Andrew Vistardis holds his block, the backside defensive end makes the play when Haskins is being patient and waiting. And then all of a sudden, boom, here comes the defensive end from the backside because Vistardis doesn't hold his block. You got to make plays in games like this. And you can blame the offensive coordinator all you want to, but guys have to make plays too. Plus that stupid holding call where the flag comes out after the play on Andrel Anthony, which you can call anytime, which was a joke. They both had each other, or were holding on to each other. Terrible call. But otherwise, you got 1st and goal at the 6, and you feel a little bit better about that drive ending in 7 points.
Yes, I don't
disagree
with any of that.
I'm chatty tonight, guys. Sorry.
It was a call from Mars.
Yes,
as Joel Klatt said.
So, well, I know Clayton's got to leave in a second, but I can't let him out of here without this one. This one's from Dan Goldstein. He says, philosophical question. Is there any team in sports that delivers more dong shots to his fans in big games than Michigan?
Yeah.
Let's say the Lions because they don't play in big games. It doesn't feel that way. It feels like the way I keep talking about it to people is it's like Lucy and Charlie Brown. And Charlie Brown go to kick the football, and every time he thinks he's there, football gets pulled away. So, I mean, it's all of the above things we've talked about. It's not. I don't think there's some cosmic thing that prevents them from reaching their goals. It's one guy needs to make a better play here. One bounce of the football there. I guess maybe that is. I mean, when you think of the Ohio State game a couple of years ago, guy fumbles the football, an oblong shaped object, and it bounces directly back into his arm. So maybe it is cosmic. Maybe I'm wrong, but Michigan fans, and not just fans, like people in the building, on the team, coaching staff, and it predates Harbaugh. They've been put through the ringer here, and then things that they've seen going to go against them. And the only thing you can kind of hang your hat on is that, water's got to find its level eventually, right?
You would think, but Jim Harbaugh has not gotten the breaks or the calls since he's joined the Big Ten. I don't care what anybody says, and we've been critical of him. But man, there have been some times where you just shake your head and say, "What just happened?" By the way, Dan Goldstein is one of our better posters on the fort, and he has promised to fund the first million callers. The dollar. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry. I was going to give us a number, 555 or something, but no. But you know what? He has not gotten the breaks in the big games either. We can say whatever we want. He should really have at least 3 more rivalry wins in the punt game, which was ridiculous. This one, you get a bad call, it goes your way. Who knows how that game goes if they don't overturn that stupid fumble call, or they get a couple, or they get one of those stupid reviews to go their way. And then the Ohio State game in 2016, and not only that, but 2017, you've got John O'Korn out there. You had a great game plan, and you've got a chance to win that game down the stretch. So with some better luck, Jim Harbaugh would be much better here. And that's why I think there's a longer leash among some people saying, some people are going to say, well, yeah, make excuses for him, so on and so forth. Some of it does come down to that. And I'm not discounting the fact that they were outcoached Saturday and, of course, the year before, which was an embarrassment against Michigan State. But he hasn't got the breaks either.
It's like John Beilein always said, it's, when they would rarely have one of those exits in the tournament, yes. that where they didn't meet the quote unquote expectations. And this happened including his time at West Virginia and when he made the tournament at Richmond. It's like, if you don't get a bounce of the basketball or two, you're not going to make it. Even when they made those national championship games, people would ask him, how did you do it and all this? And he would say, like, we got bounces. This year we got the bounces of the ball. Like, sometimes you need this to happen. And guess what else he said, which I love, is you cannot feel bad for having Jordan Poole's shot going or whatever, because he's been on the other end of those so many times. So we're just waiting for Jim Harbaugh to be on the right end of some of those. He's gotten, God, I mean, the look on his face at the end of some of these games and afterwards, and when he walked in that room on Saturday, you almost can't help but, I understand there were some things and they should have won that game. And I think that he should be criticized for some things that went on in that game. And he has been, not only from us, but other people. But he walks in that room and I was like, man, I mean, how can you handle so much of that? And man,
Dan would say,
they're due.
How many dong shots can you take?
Exactly. Yeah. It's a great way to put it. It is a great way to put it
because he's had his share and you feel bad for him, but they should even out. Like, it's like Beilein said, he said, I felt bad. Initially, I felt bad about the Jordan Poole shot going in. And he said, then I thought about, Evan Turner, Ohio State. And I thought about all the times that Wisconsin beat us with a bank shot
in West Virginia when he was up like 18 at halftime in the Elite Eight. And
yeah, against Bobby Knight's team, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, the Pittsnoggle and
yeah. So and a couple things go wrong, but they're supposed to even out. We're still waiting for it to even out with Jim Harbaugh, not making excuses for him. It's just a fact, guys. I don't know if Big Ten officials just don't like him. I don't think there's some kind of a league conspiracy, but who knows what it is. But man, when is it going to be that one of these calls that changes a game goes his way? Because I'm still waiting to see it.
Yeah, maybe football is different than basketball, but you could say, and Chris, I think you might be right that his reputation or whatever with getting on the refs, they're not going to like him. But in basketball, I mean, look at the guys who get the calls. It's the guys that are the hardest on the officials. Tom Izzo, I know it's a different culture and it's a different sport, but Jim Harbaugh in 2016 Ohio State even got the comment from the ref on the sideline that gave him that unsportsmanlike they said he threw his, play card on the field, even though it went behind him when you look at the film. And they said that would have been a technical foul if you did it in basketball. And as he said, it's not basketball. So it's a bunch of BS, and it's too many times.
Yeah. Well, there you have it.
Well,
fired me up. Now I got to leave. Jeez.
Yeah. You can go to the gym and work some of that anger out.
That's right. That's where I'm going.
Well, there's a big football game going on right now. So.
Right. Oh, that's right. Broom.
Battle for the victory cannon, Central Michigan, Western. So,
are you nervous? You got sweaty palms?
Always from the Chippewas.
Yeah.
Anywho, so are you out, Clayton? Then.
Yep.
All right. Any other final thoughts?
My final thought is $1 is literally nothing, and you should sign up for the Wolverine.com. You get an entire year. And if you don't like us, go ahead and quit after a year. But I guarantee you, I can personally guarantee you, now don't hold me to this, any lawyers out there, that we will keep you around and we will make it worth your while. So we're grinding 24/7 to make that happen. So,
and he doesn't mean that we're going to tie you up and put him in his basement. That doesn't mean what keeping you around means.
That's good.
Yes, we're going to make sure you're satisfied. Yes,
so exactly. Yeah, you will be made whole if you come over to the Wolverine.com.
Oh God!
Inside joke. I'm out, boys.
Yep.
All right. See you, Clayton.
All right. See you.
What do we got, Anthony? About 10 more minutes here?
Probably about that. So, like Clayton said, in the description below, sign up for a year of us for $1. It's nothing. You can get a McDonald's cheeseburger and feel good for 10 minutes, or go with us and feel good for 365 days or longer. Let's go to Tariq Chu, who says, after looking over the film, how do you think Mozzie and Chris Hinton played?
I thought they were okay up front, honestly. I thought that the problems in the run game were the fits and the backside cuts by Kenneth Walker, who's an outstanding back, by the way. His shiftiness, you don't compare anybody to Barry Sanders, right? But he's got some moves, man, where it makes him tough to corral. But when you're playing good team defense, Anthony, then they're cutting back to where you're supposed to be. And I thought the middle was fine for the most part. I thought the safety fits and the linebacker fits were poor. I thought the tackling angles by the safeties was poor as well. And that's where things went wrong. And of course, part of it was, again, a couple of times not being lined up correctly and not being lined up in time. So I thought they were okay. And they've both had great years, by the way. Chris Hinton has been a revelation. He's come on strong. And Mozzie Smith has been everything they hoped that he would be.
Yeah, I think just talking about those two guys in general, we always kind of came into this year hoping that it could just be a growth year for the defense. I don't think we expected them to be as good as they are. And, when you look at who's played well, who stepped up, all of the guys that you would say, oh, well, if they're going to be this good a defense, you're going to need big years from Mozzie Smith, big years from Chris Hinton. Josh Ross has been steady. I think there are times where he's probably over pursued, but I like the way he's been used. McDonald will use him a little bit more as a pass rusher, which I think has been a good thing for him. So the biggest thing about just those two guys and really these contributors on defense, period, is that most of these guys are going to be back next year. So this isn't only like, hey, these guys are helping you win football games now. Like you talk about steel in your spine and equity in the future. Like right now they're kind of having their cake and eating it too. And yep. I said, you'll lose like a guy like Aiden Hutchinson after this year, which is going to be huge for them. They'll have to find a way to replace him. Maybe Daxton Hill decides to come out early, but other than that, you'll lose
Brad Hawkins
and Ross, and everyone else will be back. So,
yep. And those young linebackers are getting some good time there, Anthony.
With Junior Colson's going to be a guy.
He is. He's going to be a guy. He's going to be a dude. To borrow from Don Brown. So
don't want to throw too far back to that, but
no. But Don Brown did some good things here too, and I want to remind people of that. Yeah, he had some issues, but there were some defensive games where they won it with their defense. I go back to that 10-3 Iowa game and some games like that. So, but hey. They've got good young pieces, and they've got more coming in. Jaden McBurrows, we keep hearing about at cornerback, and so they're going to be all right.
Yeah. Isaiah Bosworth is here. He's got a couple things. First, he says about the On3 deal, again, description below. He says it's the best $1 he's ever spent. So awesome. That's good. We love to hear that. And he also brings up one. This is a popular one on the fort. Is a hot dog a sandwich? Am I too late for the first hour discussion?
The Baz. A hot dog is not a sandwich. And in fact, the Hot Dog Association of America, I think it's called, has said as much. A hot dog is a hot dog, and it is not characterized as anything. It's its own thing. So John Borton would disagree. John, I'm sorry, but I got to tell you, a hot dog is not a sandwich. You agree on that, Anthony?
If anything, if you want to split hairs, I think you could maybe call it an open face sandwich. But to me, like a hot dog bun is like a bread envelope. It's not a sandwich. So
yeah, there you have it. That's why we hired you.
That's that was actually one of the interview questions.
It probably was. Yeah,
it could have gone either way after that if I answered that. But Isaiah has an actual football question here. He says, I've listened to other podcasts this week and a lot of mention about Blake Corum's body language after that first drop. Did you guys notice anything during the game about his demeanor? I can't say that I didn't. I mean, I wasn't there. I was watching on TV, so you got the super zoomed out view. I didn't really notice anything, but the one thing I will say is that was really his one big opportunity to make a game-changing play, and he didn't make it. So, I mean, the human element would suggest that, yeah, maybe he's hanging his head a little bit about that one, but you got to pick yourself back up and make the next one.
His confidence waned. I think that's clear. He missed a couple blocks in pass protection, including one that where Cade McNamara took a rib shot and just didn't seem to be himself. And again, it comes back to your best players have to be their best in this game. And to start that way, this is a confident kid, so he'll be fine. But in that game, things have a way of snowballing, and I think they did on him. I saw the body language wasn't great, and it's unfortunate because they really, really could have used him out there at his best. He didn't give it, or they didn't get it from him. It's not for lack of trying, but it's not just him. It was the Andrew Stubers, the Vistardises, guys like that. None of them played their best game in this game, and they still almost won. So that's why it's so hard to take, Anthony.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's despite everything that happened, it does feel like a missed opportunity. And something that gets lost in talking about Blake Corum and how he's played this year is that, for several weeks, he's been Pro Football Focus's #1 graded running back in all of college football. And that hasn't changed all year. In fact, Hassan Haskins was at like 16 or something. He's all the way up in the top 3 now. So aside from that, like Blake Corum, I think we forget sometimes that he was a true freshman last year, didn't play a ton, and he's still a pretty young guy. And these are learning experiences, just like the JJ thing is a learning experience. Donovan Edwards has had a few this year that will go down as learning experiences. And that's where it's like, it's been so, Saturday aside, it's been so positive to see them come out and win games the way that they have, because all of these guys that we just talked about are going to be factors in next year and really for the next few years.
There's some elite young talent on this team. I think McCarthy qualifies. I think Andrew Anthony is starting to show that he can be. Donovan Edwards, I think, is going to be. So you look on the defensive side of the ball. We talked about McBurrows. I think he's not elite, but I think he's going to be really good. So you need some of those guys for those big games. Now, again, those guys have to play to their potential in these big games. Aiden Hutchinson surely did, I thought, on Saturday for the most part. So, but I like it. I like the future. And that's, again, another thing that's lost is that this was supposed to be a rebuilding year, right? I think I picked 7-5. What'd you predict?
8-4? I had 8-4.
Right. So, and it's like, this is the year, let's see the step, right? Where you're taking that next step and show improvement. And they have. The disappointing part is now that you're better, to drop a game that you should win, it's still disappointing. It doesn't matter what you predicted. It's okay, a game by game thing. So let's see how they finish here. I've got them in. I don't know that the win at Penn State or Ohio State, but they get to 10-2, and I think that's a pretty good year.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that when you start winning games, when the expectations aren't very high, the goalposts move a little bit, and you have the chance to kind of have your cake and eat it too. And that's again, that makes Saturday's game and what happened so much more difficult. But all right, Chris, we'll take a couple more here and then get out of here. We can kind of go rapid fire with this.
Let me ask you real quick, though. Are you worried about Indiana at all? We haven't been even talking about the possibility that they're going to come in and give Michigan a game again.
I don't think so. This is a really bad Indiana team.
Right.
They're going to – I wouldn't be surprised if they covered whatever it is, the 18.5, because they're just a pain. And whether they're good or not, they have been to Michigan, and they can do some – let me choose my words carefully here. Some dirt baggy things at times. I guess I didn't choose them all that carefully. Yeah. But yeah, this will be, okay. I mean, given what we've talked about and how they've moved forward, I think you'll see a focused team.
I agree. Yep. And they've seemed to have come back that way.
Yep. So this is from Welch's McGee. We'll kind of go rapid fire with this. He says, how bad is Eric all injured? He left in the last drive.
He's okay. Yeah. You heard it. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, Jay Harbaugh, we talked to him on Wednesday. He said he went through the walkthrough with the team on Monday. He didn't do a ton in Tuesday's practice, and TBD, like we don't know what happened on Wednesday yet, but I'd assume he was out. Like they don't seem all that worried about it. So
no, in fact, he said he expected him back later in the week. So that bodes well. And if they had to hold him out for this game, maybe get Schoonmaker some more run, depending on how the game goes, or maybe have him there for an emergency. I think that's probably the route they would take.
Right. So that's where I think things stand there. This is from 4. Like this is just we'll just call poll sign. That's what we'll call you. Everyone seems to be giving Harbaugh a pass this year. What does he need to do next year to keep the job? I think that's an important thing. Like Jim Harbaugh is not going anywhere after this year. Like it's not going to happen.
Right.
Next year, I think. I mean, the training wheels are off for this. What this reboot is, you have to go in your game on that last Saturday in November. To me, this is my expectation for what the measuring stick for this program. Period. You have to go to that Ohio State game with the Big Ten East title on the line.
Agreed. Always. That's the way it should always be, frankly. And the competition's gotten harder. Clearly, the Big Ten East has gotten tougher. And now the transfer portal too has opened it up. Michigan State should have been a cakewalk this year, right? They go to the transfer portal and get 20 guys and several, including the front runner for the Heisman potentially, and now all of a sudden, they're number 3 in the country. So it's different and it's tough. And that's the way it is. That's what you signed up for when you came to Michigan. That's why you're making the big bucks. In this case, you got a lot of incentives to make the even bigger bucks, but yeah, that needs to be the case, especially going forward. You got the reboot this year. I don't think he needs a pass this year, frankly. I think he's proven that he's gotten his spark back in that. Now, if they were to drop, 3 of the last 4 games, then we'll have this discussion at the end of the year. But as of right now, I think he's doing okay. And next year, compete for a title and go into Columbus with a chance to win it.
Okay. Yeah. And this is kind of a double question here from Movo and Isaiah Bosworth. Movo asked who jumps to the NFL early, and Isaiah asked, last question, with rumors of Michigan finally getting some NIL deals in place, will it be enough to bring back a guy like Daxton Hill for one more year? When we're talking about early guys, I think Daxton Hill is the only guy. And if he's getting first-round grades, he's kind of right on the fringe right now. I would tend to think he would probably go, but NIL might open the door for something else. Chris, you might have some insight to add to that.
Yeah, I think so. I think they're going to make a play for it. I know that guys like Aiden Hutchinson is going to get some money. I know that Hunter Dickinson is going to get some money, but what they need to use it for, in my opinion, you can't use it to recruit. It's illegal, but you can do it for the guys that are on the team. And we wrote this and show the recruits that, hey, this is what's going to happen when you get here. I think that somebody will make that offer and say, hey, we want you to be a spokesman for this, Daxton. You can get some really good guaranteed money here if you'll stay. I know that other schools have done it in the past before there was NIL to play in bowl games and things like that.
No.
Yes, it happens, Anthony. Yep. But so it'll happen. I don't know if he'll come back or not. I do know he's serious about his education. He's a great student. So I know that his education is important to him. So hopefully, let's put it that way.
Yeah. Well, I think that's going to do it for us. Thanks to everyone who was in here. I mean, God, we got 93 people watching us live right now. So that's awesome. Before we get out, again, like I said, you see it on the ticker below. Wolverine.com is on the On3 Sports Network right now. So we need you to bookmark the Wolverine.com. We need you to go to the website, take the $1 out of your pocket. Well, you can't, don't do that. I mean, we need a credit card on file, but sign up for us for a year. Give us a try. I think we'll keep you if you give us a try for the $1. So it's been a lot of fun so far. Like I said, thousands of people are over there. It's so hard to, we do it pretty well, but there's so much going on in the fort with the discussions and no one in this, I can say this because it's true. Nobody in this market is putting out as much content as we are. So the $1 is, it's quite frankly, you're stealing from us. So link in the description below. Chris, do you have anything to add before we get out?
The last thing I'll say is that our message board also is the most active by far out of any community, free or pay, out there. And I can't believe how quickly the pages are turning over, Anthony, right now on day 3. And it's fun to see the familiar faces, but we're always got room for more faces and more people. It's always respectful. It's always moderated. We're almost always there. You've seen me, Anthony. I barely sleep. I'll be up there at 4 a.m. if you got a question that you need answered. So it's been fun. And damn it, you've been a great addition, man. One of the best moves we've made. So really great having you.
Oh, you're gonna make me cry.
Yeah. Well, hey.
No. It's an honor. Not only is it an honor, but we're well positioned to do some great things. So Thank you, everyone. Again, link in the description below. Hit the subscribe on the YouTube too. Some of you may have not done that yet. That helps us out too. So again, thanks for your time, everyone. We appreciate you, and we will talk to you again soon.